Welcome to Wednesday night Bible study, everybody. Are we ready? Are we excited? I'm excited. Part 7, we're going to talk about the identity of the Antichrist, the false prophet. There's one more beast that we're going to identify in the end times. We're going to talk about who the restrainer is that's restraining the Antichrist from coming. All right. So what we're going to do, part 7, it covers chapters 13 and 17. Chapter 13 and 17 dovetail. Like I said, this is Revelation made easy, and so I'm teaching it kind of in a chronological order. What we've been doing is giving you all the characters first, telling you about all the people. Well, last week in part 6, instead of giving you these last two characters, I decided to give you the trigger point to the start of the tribulation, and it's when there's going to be a point in the future where Satan and his angels are evicted from the throne room for good. Right now, they still have access to accuse the brethren, us. They don't have any power, they don't have any authority, but they have access. In the future battle, and I'm going to read just a few of the verses about it, they're going to be evicted, and that's the unseen trigger point to the end times tribulation. Revelation 12, this is last part 6. Revelation 12, 7 through 9 in verse 12, it says, "Then there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels, and the dragon lost the battle, and he and his angels were forced out of heaven. This great dragon, the ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, the one deceiving the whole world, was thrown down to the earth with all of his angels." Verse 12, "Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who live in the heavens rejoice. But terror will come on the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you in great anger, knowing he has little time." Not a ton of time. He has little time. And the tribulation is a time, times, and a half a times. That's how long he has. And if you type that into your phone, it's going to say 3.5 years, not 7. So the tribulation is going to be 3.5 years long, as opposed to what pretty much everybody teaches online. God is going to allow the Antichrist of the end times, the beast that we're going to talk about, he's going to allow him to raise up to life from the pit of hell. And he's going to allow him to do his thing during the tribulation period. You think Satan's in charge? He's not. He's a pawn as well. God is in charge of all of this. The Antichrist has a fatal wound that killed him before, and that fatal wound is going to be healed, and he's going to resurrect from the dead. He's called the beast. But is the beast only one person? That's one of the things we're going to answer tonight. According to the Thayer's Greek lexicon, when I looked up the word beast, Strong's G 2342, it says, "Under the figurative of the beast is depicted the Antichrist, both his person and his kingdom and his power." So you've got the person of the Antichrist known as the beast, and then you have his revived empire that is going to come to life in the end times. It's going to dominate this period of time. So there's technically two beasts. But in the Vine's Expository Bible Dictionary, I always cross-reference, so when I looked up the word beast in the Vine's, this definition is used all throughout Revelation. Beast, in the sense of wild beast, it is used in the Apocalypse for the two anti-Christian rulers who are destined to control the affairs of the nations with satanic power in the closing period of the present age. So not only do you have the Antichrist, you have his kingdom and his power, you've got another ruler that's going to rise up that's going to be called a beast, and we know him as the false prophet. But they will address him as a beast in this book. So you've got three. You've got the Antichrist person, the false prophet person, and the kingdom and authority of the Antichrist is going to rise up. So you kind of have to know when you're reading that word, you got to read the context around it to try to figure out what beast is being talked about. And so I'm going to do all that for you. And as we go through 13 and 17, I'm just going to tell you, this is the person, this is the kingdom, this is the false prophet, so you don't have to guess. This is Revelation made easy. So we're going to start with Revelation 13, 1 through 10. This is the New Living Translation. Then I saw a beast rising up out of the sea. It had 7 heads and 10 horns, with 10 crowns on its horns. And written on each head were names that blasphemed God. This beast looked like a leopard, but it had the feet of a bear and the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave the beast his own power and throne and great authority. I believe that that is the Antichrist's kingdom and his power that is rising up like a leopard. It's going to spring up quickly, and it has within it 7 heads and 10 horns. But I also believe the Antichrist person is coming up along with it, based on verse 3. I saw that one of the heads of the beast seemed wounded beyond recovery, but the fatal wound was healed. That's your Antichrist. He had a fatal wound that killed him, and he's coming up too. The whole world marveled at this miracle and gave allegiance to the beast, the person. They worshiped the dragon, Satan, for giving the beast such power, and they also worshiped the beast, the person. Who is as great as the beast, they exclaimed. Who is able to fight against him? That's how we know it's the person. And then the beast was allowed to speak great blasphemies against God, and he was given authority to do whatever he wanted for 42 months. That is huge information right there. Anybody type, what is 42 months in your phone, and it's going to say 3.5 years, not 7. The Antichrist is not alive for 7 years. So any teaching about a 7-year peace treaty that he signs cannot be backed up when you use this verse right here. It's refuted with this verse right here. 3.5 years he has to do his worst. And he spoke terrible words of blasphemy against God, slandering his name and his dwelling. That is, those who dwell in heaven. And the beast was allowed to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. He waged war. Notice he did not bring peace. He did not sign a peace treaty. He didn't come in with a bow. He brings war from the very beginning because he has 3.5 years. He was given authority to rule over every tribe and people and language and nation. And all the people who belong to this world, that means people that are not believers, that are not followers of Christ, they worship the beast. They are the ones whose names were not written in the book of life before the world was made, the book that belongs to the Lamb who was slaughtered. Anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand. Anyone who is destined for prison will be taken to prison. Anyone destined to die by the sword will die by the sword. This means that God's holy people must endure persecution patiently and remain faithful. Well, for those of you who think, watching online, if you're just now joining us, for those of you who still think that we're getting out of here before it starts, this verse, this means that God's holy people must endure persecution patiently and remain faithful. Christians are going to be on the planet. If we are still alive when this kicks off, we will not be raptured ahead of time, and there I said it. I finally said it. I've been saying it this whole time kind of covertly, but we're going to prove it tonight beyond a shadow of a doubt. So I need you to make a mental note that God's holy people are going to be on the earth, and they're being commanded to remain faithful and patient until the end. The beast is never said to bring peace, a false sense of peace, sign a peace treaty, have a bow with no air. He brings war from day one until his final day, which is 42 months later. At the end of that 42 months, he's going to be cast alive into the lake which burns with fire. So from resurrection from death till death again, 42 months. That's it. He is the rider on the red horse that brings the sword. That's the rider that represents him. So here's a confirmation scripture that confirms to us that we're not going to be raptured before the tribulation begins. 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 4. Now, brethren, concerning the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and our gathering together to him, so that's referring to the event called the rapture, we ask you not to be soon shaken in mind or troubled, either by spirit or by word or by letter, as if it was from us, as though the day of Christ had come. Like, I don't want you panicking that the rapture's already happened, because it hasn't. Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day, the rapture, that day will not come unless the falling away comes first and the man of sin, the Antichrist, is revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So before the rapture happens, two things will happen before that event. First, there's going to be a great falling away. Well, if there's no Christians on the planet, who's falling away? There are Christians on the planet. And there will be those Christians who apostatize, which means they renounce Christianity for the satisfaction of life. They don't want to give up anything. They want to pursue whatever they want to pursue. And if that takes turning their back on Christ, they will do it, sadly. There's also going to be a person called the Antichrist that's going to rise up before the rapture, which means we're going to meet him. We're going to see him. If either see him on TV, see him in real life, I don't know. But he's going to be on the planet, visible to Christians. So those two things have to happen. All righty. So here is the teaching that I come up against all the time. This is the one that I have to figure out how to crack the code on these people, bless their hearts, like me, who were raised with the teaching I'm about to tell you. This is all I ever knew before I tackled the book of Revelation using lexicons. Here's what I was taught, and I'm going to see how many of you are familiar with it. He's often described, the Antichrist, to be the rider on the white horse. He comes as a false Messiah who carries a bow with no arrows. He's said to sign a 7-year peace treaty, which will allow him to gain everybody's allegiance. 7 years is 84 months. Okay, he signs this peace treaty with He signs a peace treaty with Israel. I can get that out. This peace treaty is to gain allegiance of the masses. People teach that the first 3.5 years are going to be peaceful, and they are called the Tribulation. And then at the end of the 3.5 years of peace, he decides he's going to break that peace treaty. He's going to set a statue of himself up in the temple, stop the reinstated temple sacrifices, demand that he be worshiped. He's going to implement a mark of the beast, which means if you don't take it, you can't buy or sell anything, and you also are going to be hunted down and killed if you don't worship him. And that second 3.5 years is called the Great Tribulation. So there's a distinction between these two periods of 3.5 years. The first one being peaceful, tribulation. The second one being not peaceful, Great Tribulation. Raise your hand if you are familiar with what I just said, if you've ever heard that. Okay, if you've ever heard that, pretty much 90% of you have heard that teaching. That's what I have to battle against. People that are like, that's what I've been taught, don't teach me anything different. I don't want to know anything different. Okay, well, I'm just going to show you the Word of God over and over and over, and then you can decide what you want to believe. But hang in with me till the end. At least give me that grace. But I would like for you, those of you who would like to say this out loud, repeat after me really loud. Ready? There is no first 3.5 years of peace. There is only the second 3.5 years. That's the only thing Revelation ever addresses, is the second 3.5 years. You can read anywhere in your Bible and try to find that first 3.5 years of peace and what it's like in Jerusalem. You will not find it in the Bible because it is not in there. There is no first 3.5 years of peace. So, but here again, I still have those people who are like, I don't care what you show me. I want tradition over truth. Okay, it's not going to determine your salvation. If you're saved, I'm saved, we're both going to end up in heaven. I'm just trying to educate you on what the end times is going to look like, because I believe the Christians are going to be here. All righty. This man is going to wage war. I'm telling you right now, he's going to wage war for 3.5 years. If he goes beyond 42 months, the Bible's a false doctrine, because the Bible point blank says he has 42 months. He does not have 7. Okay, so we've got the Antichrist's length of time. We don't have his identity, but we have how long he's going to be on the planet. 42 months. Now we're going to start unveiling the false prophet, a little bit about him. Revelation 13, 11 through 13 in the King James says this: "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth." So this one doesn't come from the sea. This one comes from the earth. "And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." So this person is going to seem innocent, but his words are going to be the words of Satan. "And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him." That's the Antichrist he's talking about. "And the false prophet, he causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And the false prophet doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of man." So the false prophet is plugging the popularity of the Antichrist, whose deadly wound is going to be healed, and he's going to resurrect from the dead. The false prophet is the mouthpiece. So he's going to come alongside the Antichrist and help rule and reign with him. He's the second beast of the tribulation. So y'all ready to know who the lexicon says the Antichrist is going to be? Because it was identified in verse 12 and verse 14. I'm going to read verse 12 again to you. Revelation 13, 12. "And he," talk about false prophet, "exercised all the power of the first beast before him," the Antichrist, "and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the beast," the first beast, "whose deadly wound was healed." When I amplified Revelation in the year of 2014, I looked up every single word, including the word "whose," thinking it was just going to be whose or who. One translation said which had the deadly wound. Under the word "whose," Thayer's Greek lexicon, Strong's G 3739, of Nero as the Antichrist, Revelation 13:12, and also verse 14. So, according to the lexicon of Blue Letter Bible, Nero is going to come back from the pit of hell, where he is currently being held. He's going to be on the planet for 42 months. He's going to resume power in Rome, because he was a Roman ruler. He was an emperor. The tribulation will spearhead from Rome, not the United States. He is called the Antichrist and the beast of Revelation. The sea that you saw him rising up out of was not the Mediterranean Sea, which is the closest thing to Rome. The sea is a metaphor for hell, and it is confirmed later in the scriptures as well. Now, also in the Thayer's Greek lexicon, when I looked up the actual word Antichrist, which is where you would expect to find the identity, I did, Strong's G500, Paul teaches, this is the definition under Antichrist, Paul teaches that Antichrist will be an individual man of the very worst character, called the man of sin, instigated by the devil to try to palm himself off as God, 2 Thessalonians 2, 3 through 10. The author of the Apocalypse, John, discovers the power of Antichrist in the ruling of imperial Rome, and his person in the Emperor Nero, soon to return from the dead. The whole chapter of Revelation 13 and all of Revelation 17. It's repeated over and over and over that Nero is going to be the Antichrist of the end times. So, if the lexicons are right, which is all I teach, I plagiarize these things because I don't want to go, well, I think, and then somebody just shoot me down with what they think. I just do the lexicons, and then you can just argue the lexicon. But if the lexicons are right, it will be the beast number 1 is the Antichrist, Nero. The beast number 2 is going to be the false prophet. We don't know his identity. And the beast number 3 is the kingdom, the revived Roman Empire that is going to come together very quickly because they have 42 months to do their thing. So it says it's going to spring up like a leopard. It's going to spring up quickly. So in his 42 months, he's got to accomplish the whole book of Revelation, because at the end of it, he gets cast into the lake of fire, which lets us know he is done for good, because that's eternal punishment. Here's the irony. I taught you in part 6 about the Jewish-Roman War back in AD 66 through AD 70 when Jerusalem was finally destroyed. The Roman emperor that started that whole thing was Nero. The irony, if he comes back and goes after the Jewish nation of Israel again, it's going to be like history repeating itself. He's got to fit, though. He's got to fit every single description in the book of Revelation to be a viable candidate to be the beast. And there's a lot of things that he has to fit. So we're going to go through all of them, because when somebody goes, Trump is the Antichrist, okay, is Trump a Roman ruler? No. Is Trump going to spearhead from? No. Like, he doesn't, he's got to, whoever people are saying it is, they have to fit every single thing that this book says they have to fit. So because we're saying Nero, now we're going to use him, and now he has to fit everything I'm going to read to you for the rest of tonight's class. Revelation 13, verse 14. And he, the false prophet, deceives those who live on the earth because of the signs to which he was given to perform in the presence of the beast, telling those who live on the earth, make an image to the beast who had the wound of the sword and has come to life. Okay, we just got a little bit more information. The Antichrist was once killed with a sword, and he's going to be healed of that deadly wound in the end times to resurrect from the dead. Well, that means he can't die from a gunshot wound, he can't die from old age, and he can't have died from sickness. He has to have died from a sword wound. Nero committed suicide with his own sword in the year 68. Number 2, they're going to make an image of him, which is a statue, and it's called the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet. That was talked about in this verse. So when whoever it is, Nero, comes back from the dead, they are going to make a statue of him, give that thing life, cause it to breathe, put it in the holy place in the rebuilt temple, and that thing or the false prophet or all three of them are going to make people choose to pledge their allegiance to that thing, to that statue. And we're going to get into who all that might entail. Revelation 13, we're going to go now to 15 through 17. And it was given unto him, the false prophet, to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast would even speak, and cause all who do not worship the image of the beast to be killed. And he, false prophet still, causes all, the small and the great, the rich and the poor, and the free and the slaves, to be given a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads. And he decrees that no one will be able to buy or to sell except the one who has that mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. All right, so the false prophet, who is the rider on the black horse, who has the scales in his hands, which is weights and measures, he's the one that's going to control the monetary system. He's the one that's going to enforce the mark of the beast. He's the one that's going to say, hey, let's make a statue of this guy who had a deadly wound that was healed. The false prophet is very instrumental. We just don't know who he is until the Antichrist appears and we see who teams up with him, because there's really nothing about his identity in any of the lexicons other than he looks innocent. He's got little things like a lamb, but he speaks like the dragon. So he's going to be a very deceptive person. Revelation 13:18. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of the man. The number is 666, or 666. So we're going to put Nero to the test again, because the number of his name is 666. And you're like, I don't understand how we do that. In order to understand how to calculate the number of somebody's name, you have to be versed in something that's called Hebrew gematria. Now, gematria not something that I specialize in. It's the method of assigning a numerical value to a name, a word, or a phrase based on its letters in Hebrew. The problem for Westerners are many. First of all, we don't know what we're doing unless we're fluent in Hebrew. Okay, so you have to be able to take the original Greek or Latin Bibles and transliterate that name from Latin or Greek into Hebrew, letter by letter by letter, which is called transliteration. You have to do that first. You have to take the Greek or Latin, turn it into Hebrew, and then from the Hebrew, you can assign the numerical value to those letters, and you come up with a number. So, Cindy, get your calculator out. We're going to do a little Hebrew gematria. Now, I don't know how to do it, so this is copied from the internet from somebody who claims they did. And so we're just going to hope that they're correct. The Greek version of the name of Nero Caesar. Now, we spell it N-E-R-O-C-A-E-S-A-R. No, Greek. We're going from Greek into Hebrew. The Greek letters of his name is N-R-O-N, pronounced Neron. Q-S-R, pronounced Kaiser. Okay, so we're going to take N-R-O-N-Q-S-R. We're going to transliterate that into Hebrew. So we have 7 letters, and I'm going to give you the letter with the number. So you're just going to add up numbers and see if it adds up. It has to be 666. All right, N-R-O-N is his first name, Neron. N is worth 50. Plus, R's are worth 200. O's are worth 6. N's are worth 50. Okay, are we track? What are we at? Okay, now we've got to do QSR. Q's are worth 100. S's are worth 60. R's are worth 200. What do you have? Speak into the microphone.
666.
Okay, don't turn your calculator off and don't turn the mic off. Ready? There was a shocking discovery in the year 2005. There was a papyrus 115 found that was in Latin, one of the earliest known papyrus papers of Revelation, of that part of Revelation, and it stated that the number of the beast was 616, not 666, questioning whether they had the number wrong in the Greek. All right, well, here's the thing. The Latin spelling of Nero Caesar is not 7 letters, it's only 6 letters. It's N-R-O-Q-S-R. So if you have only one N and N's are worth 50, Cindy, subtract 50.
616.
Which is exactly what the Latin said it was, the number of the beast. So using Hebrew gematria from the Latin to Hebrew or the Greek, we have confirmation that Nero will be the Antichrist of the end times. So he fits so far, but there's more. So we have to check him on everything. As of July 2024, which is when I am teaching this, Nero has not resurrected from the dead yet. So we are not in the tribulation of the end times. Many speculate that the mark of the beast is going to be a computer chip that will be inserted under the skin of the right hand or the forehead. It could be. It makes complete logical sense that that would be what it is. But if it comes to the United States and you are put into a position where you have to choose to take it or not, to buy or sell, absolutely do not take it. And here is why. If you take it, you have sealed your fate and you will not spend eternity with the Lord in heaven. You will spend eternity in hell for pledging your allegiance to the Antichrist. It's not going to be a trick. You're going to know what you're doing. You're going to be pledging your allegiance to him. So, there are chips that people are taking now. They're not the mark of the beast. They're not. If you've taken a chip of any kind for medical or finance, that is not the mark of the beast. Any credit card that you have, I remember when the chip came out in the first credit card, oh my word, everybody that signed up for that card just got the mark of the beast. No, you didn't. You're not taking the mark of the beast by getting a credit card that has a chip in it. It's not going to keep you out of heaven. Any vaccine that you took, that's not the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast will not exist until the Antichrist exists. And there's a beast that you're actually pledging your allegiance to. Does that make sense? Okay. So anything you do now, that's not the mark of the beast that's going to keep you out of heaven. All right? So that's what we need to like. But putting chips in animals for medical records, putting chips in college students so that mommy and daddy can transfer money to their account so they can buy and sell at the bookstore, the cafeteria, whatever, so that their cards don't get stolen, okay? That's not the mark of the beast, but that is going on. Putting chips in children now so that you can track them because there's so many abductions so that they can find the kids faster, okay? That's all going on. That's not the mark of the beast, but it sure is getting us used to letting people put chips in things. So I can see how that might be what they do. If you ever take the real one, you have just locked yourself into eternity with Satan in hell, though. Do not take it. You need to be ready to lay down my life for the Lord. That's an eternal decision right there. Okay, so now we're going to jump into chapter 17. I call it the decoder ring chapter because if you just read 7, it gives you so many answers. Plus, when you do it in the lexicon, it gives you all the answers. We're going to find out one more time who the Antichrist is and what country he's going to spearhead his power from. And I'm going to plug in the details that we had from chapter 13 just to make it even easier to read. So this is Revelation 17, 1 through 6. Like I said, 13 and 17 dovetail, give us everything we need to know about the Antichrist and the false prophet. New Living Translation. John up in the throne room. One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls of wrath came over and spoke to me. Come with me, he said, and I will show you the judgment that is going to come on the great prostitute. Some translations say the woman. Some say the harlot. Some say the whore. Whoever this chick is, whoever this woman metaphor is, she's going to get judged. And so John's about ready to see it. I will show you the judgment that is going to come on the great prostitute who rules over many waters. The kings of the world have committed adultery with her, and the people who belong to this world have been made drunk by the wine of her immorality. So the angel took me in the spirit into the wilderness, and there I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast. Okay, that beast that she's sitting on is the kingdom and the power that's going to raise up. This beast had 7 heads and 10 horns, and blasphemies against God were written all over it. The woman wore purple and scarlet clothing and beautiful jewelry made of gold and precious gems and pearls. In her hand, she held a gold goblet full of obscenities and the impurities of her immorality. A mysterious name was written on her forehead: Babylon the Great, mother of all prostitutes and obscenities in the world. I could see that she was drunk with the blood of God's holy people who are witnesses for Jesus. I stared at her in complete amazement. So we're going to find out who this mystery Babylon, what it stands for, who she stands for, because it says she sits over many waters. All right, well, Babylon, and she's killing God's holy people. So she's killing Christians. The actual city of Babylon no longer exists. I believe it's underwater, but it no longer exists regardless of where it is. So it's not referring to Babylon, the city. Thayer's Greek lexicon, this is who they say Babylon is. Strong's G, 897, allegorically, which is like metaphorically, of Rome as the most corrupt seat of idolatry and the enemy of Christianity. And then it's Revelation 14:8, Revelation 16:19, 17:5, 18:2, 10:21. I mean, it's all through Revelation. Anytime you see Babylon, think Rome. Read that into the story instead of saying Babylon. So the woman on the beast, also called the harlot, the whore, mystery Babylon, is the city of Rome, which confirms everything else that we found. Rome is going to be where the Antichrist spearheads his power from, which makes total sense. Nero was a Roman emperor. It states that it will rule over many waters, and when I looked up the word waters in the Thayers, it said figuratively used of many people. So Rome, in the end, is almost going to revive a Roman Empire and rule over many people. Rome is going to sit on the beast, which is the Antichrist's kingdom. It's like, I think the Roman Empire back in the day had 55 million people under one man's rule. I don't know how many people are going to be under the revived one, but it's going to be a lot of people. So this beast has 7 heads and 10 horns. So we need to find out a little bit about that. So we're watching for Nero to resurrect from the pit of hell. He's going to take control in Rome, not Washington, D.C. The Antichrist is going to be a past Roman ruler, not American citizen. So keep that all in your head. Now we're going to go Revelation 17, verse 7. Why are you amazed? The angel asked. I will tell you the mystery of this woman, Rome, and of the beast, the Antichrist kingdom and his power, with the 7 heads and the 10 horns on which she sits. Here's where we're going to find out more confirmation that the past Roman Emperor Caesar Nero is going to have to fit some more of these descriptions to be a viable candidate. So remember, the angel's talking to John in the year of 95. That's when he was on the island. This is when this visit took place. He was imprisoned by Roman Emperor Domitian on the Isle of Patmos. Nero had died 27 years earlier. All right? So John knew Nero. Revelation 17:8. The beast that you, John, saw was once alive, but isn't now. Okay, that would make sense to John if it's Nero. He was once alive, but he isn't now. Okay. And yet he, Nero, will soon come up out of the bottomless pit and then go into eternal destruction. So he's coming up from the pit of hell where he's being held. He's going to end up in the lake of fire, which is his eternal destruction, which lets us know these 2 places are not the same, which I discovered in another teaching. The pit of hell, the depths of Sheol, is a holding place for the wicked. It's not the final place of punishment. Nobody's in the lake of fire right now. The final place of punishment happens after the white throne judgment at the very end, and they will go from this holding place to the lake of fire for eternity. So that's where Nero's being held. He was anti-Christian. He tortured Christians. He killed Christians. He demanded to be worshiped as God. He's going to resurrect and pick up right where he left off. And then after 42 months of doing his thing, he's going to be cast into his final place of punishment, along with the false prophet. So he's talking to John, and he says, and the people who belong to this world, whose names were not written in the book of life before the world was made, they're going to be amazed at the reappearance of this beast who had died. People who belong to this world means unsaved people, not Christians. We're not going to be in awe. We're going to know, if we know the Revelation story the right way, we're going to expect him and know him and identify him. Non-believers are going to be in awe of Nero because he comes back from hell. So Nero's going to fit that. He was once alive. At the time of John's vision, he was dead. Rome had, well, we'll get into that in a second. Nero was Rome's 5th emperor. And like I said, he died in the year 68. He slit his own throat with a sword. So he's going to go after the Jewish nation of Israel again. Christians who flee. We went over that. Christians who flee Judea, when he hits the scene, they're going to be given divine aid and helped to hide and protect for a time, times and a half a time from the sight and presence of Satan. They're going to live, the ones that flee. That's an enormous promise. But the 144,000 witnesses, the martyrs that are marked, destined to stay behind, they're going to be killed by the false prophet and the Antichrist. But that is their lot. That's their calling. They're marked for that. But the ones who flee will be helped. When Nero's 42 months is up, him and the false prophet, like I said, go into the lake of fire. I'm going to read Revelation 19 real quick just to show you what that day is going to look like. Revelation 19 through 20. Then I saw the beast and the kings of the world and their armies gathered together to fight against the one sitting on the horse and his army. This is right before the Battle of Armageddon, when Christ comes to the earth. The second coming is what that is. And the beast was captured, and with him the false prophet who did mighty miracles on behalf of the beast, miracles that deceived all who had accepted the mark of the beast and who worshiped his statue. So here we know it's a statue. Both the beast and his false prophet were thrown alive into the fiery lake of burning sulfur. So we've got some confirmations. It is a statue that's going to be erected in his image and in his likeness. The Battle of Armageddon. This is key, guys. If you can put this together, I believe the Battle of Armageddon is the day of Christ's second coming, where he comes to earth. And this great battle is going to mark the demise of the Antichrist. His 42 months are over. If we know his death date, we can backtrack 42 months and know his resurrection from the pit of hell date. Well, the Day of Atonement on a Jewish calendar, if it is the correct date, always falls in the fall. A lot of times in October. Backtrack 42 months from any October, it'll put you in April. Of any given year, it'll put you in April. That's the day, that's the month of the Jewish Passover. First fruits, unleavened bread. That's the first day of their festival calendar. It's their sacred calendar. It's the month of their sacred calendar, the first month. I believe that he's going to show up in April. That's what I'm watching for. I don't know what year, but I'm pretty sure I know the month. So through chapters 13 and 17, we find many confirmations that Nero will be the Antichrist, but we're going to keep fact-checking. We're in Revelation 17. We're in verse 9 through 11, New Living. This calls for a mind with understanding. The 7 heads of the beast represent the 7 hills where the woman sits. The 7 hills of Rome is a tour that you can take today, so confirming it is Rome. They, the 7 heads, also represent 7 kings or rulers. 5 have already fallen. The 6th now reigns, and the 7th, I'll do this, 6 now reigns, the 7th is yet to come, but his reign will be brief. The beast, Nero, which was and is not, he himself also is an 8th head and is of one of the list of the 7. He's one of these guys. And he goes into destruction, which we know that's the Gehenna, the lake of fire. In AD 95, this is when John has been visited. If he has gotten information that 8 Roman rulers, these heads, these 7 heads of the beast, John, you're in the year 95. 5 have already fallen, which means they've died. We can fact check who died. John, 1 lives. Well, that's the one that put him on the island that was ruling and reigning when he went on the island. That's Domitian, Roman emperor, number 11. That would make sense to John. And then John, 1 is yet to come. Number 7 is yet to come. That's to John, an unknown future Roman ruler. To us, it's a future unknown Roman ruler is the 7th head of the beast. But we don't have emperors anymore. We don't have Roman emperors. We don't have Roman kings. What do we have now? We have popes. So if a Roman pope is the 7th head in this vision, that doesn't mean he's the beast. Because the 8th is the beast, and he's of the list of the 7. And I know which one of the 7 Nero was, and he's not number 7, he's number 5. There are 10 emperors that lived before Domitian, which is the one that, number 6. There's 10. Of all 10, and I studied all of them extensively, all their stories. I want to know everything about them. Nero fits everything, and up to the sword wound. A lot of them died of asphyxiation, poison, suffocation, illnesses. Nero slit his throat, and he was the 5th Roman emperor. So if the 5th head has fallen, 5 have fallen, so these are the dead ones. Emperor Domitian is 6. He lives. 7 has yet to come. He's the unknown. 8 is the Antichrist. Number 7 standing in his way. Number 7 is kind of the future pope, I think. It's going to be the 7th head of the beast in the vision. It says his reign is going to be brief. Revelation 17:11. The beast Nero, which was and is not, is himself also an 8th. He's in this list. Okay. So I'm going to clarify what we know so far. Trying to make it simple. Say it enough times, it'll make sense. Rome is sitting like a queen in the future over many waters, which is many people. She's also sitting over 7 past Roman rulers, past, present, and future. We've got one, number 7's a future. She's sitting over that. The Roman emperor, the empire was huge back then. I believe it's going to be future. It's going to raise up and be huge again. So if he comes back as 8, at which time he's going to rule from Rome, then the 7th Roman ruler, the one in the vision who's not yet come, has to hit the scene before Nero does. 7 comes before 8. Does that make sense? Okay. Remember what I'm telling you right now, because this is going to be a huge revelation to some of y'all. 7 comes before 8. He has to be removed from power rather quickly. His reign is going to be brief to make room for Nero, who's number 8. We're watching for changes in the papacy in Rome. When Nero comes back from hell to be the Antichrist, he won't be a baby. Some people are like, is he going to be a baby? No, he has 42 months to do his thing. And nobody would be in awe at that. But if Nero comes back at the age that he died, which is 30 years old, people are going to know who he is. He's going to come back at that age. Otherwise, nobody would be in awe of him. They did not have cameras back then, but they made statues of all the emperors. And when I went to Paris for my daughter's 30th, and we went to the Louvre, that museum, you could spend months in there and probably never hit every room. But luckily, I stumbled across the Roman Empire section of that museum, and I was like a kid in a candy store because I knew them. Like, I had studied the first 11. Like, I knew their stories. I knew their secrets. Oh, I was like, Augustus, you were okay, but man, Caligula, you were crazy. Tiberius, you were like so demented. Like, you were just a weirdo, and Nero is burning Christians at the stake. So I'm like taking pictures of Nero, his face, his, everything. I was like, I know what you look like. And a lot of people know what he looks like. So when he comes back claiming to be Nero, they're going to know it's him. And people that are of the world are going to be in awe of him. But there's one person that's keeping Nero from making his public appearance, and it's the 7th head of the beast, the unknown future Roman pope or ruler. All right. I don't know what constitutes a brief reign. Pope Francis, he's been in there since 2013. But if he goes out of the way and Nero does not rise from the dead, then Pope Francis was not the 7th head in the vision. We won't know the 7th head until Nero shows up, and then we're going to know that the guy before him was the 7th head. Does that make sense? Okay. So we can't get caught up on who the 7th head is. We just have to be watching. So a future Roman ruler is holding back the Antichrist from making his public appearance. This guy right here. Everyone say with me, the 7th head, is withholding the 8th head from being revealed to us. Everybody repeat after me. The future Roman ruler is restraining Nero from making his public appearance. This dude right here is the stopper from this guy right here. Now I'm going to read you confirmation of Scripture, what you just said out loud. 2 Thessalonians 2, 6 through 9. And now you know what withholdeth, that the Antichrist might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Only he who now restrains, that's number 7 head, will do so until he is taken out of the way. His reign's going to be brief. And then the lawless one, the Antichrist, will be revealed, whom the Lord will consume with the breath of his mouth and destroy with the brightness of his coming, which is his second coming. The coming of the lawless one, Nero, is according to the working of Satan with all power, signs, and lying wonders. The restrainer is not the Holy Spirit. There are pre-tribulation rapture teachers out there that are saying the restrainer is the Holy Spirit. The restrainer is the 7th head of the beast, not the Holy Spirit, because we are going to be on the planet. People that teach the Holy Spirit's the restrainer teach all Christians have to leave the planet before the Antichrist makes his appearance, because the Holy Spirit's the one holding him back. No, he's not. It says right here, So when I looked up he who withholdeth, just to verify that it was not the Holy Spirit, this is what withholdeth says in the Thayer's Greek lexicon. To restrain, hinder, namely the Antichrist, from making his appearance. He that hinders, checks, namely the advent of the Antichrist, denotes the one in whom that power is lodged. The Roman emperor, the Roman ruler, not the Holy Spirit. I did not make that up. Anybody can find that. Any teacher on TV that is teaching end times could find that if they wanted to. I don't know why they're not. I'm not a scholar, and I found it. Anyone can look this up. So like I stated before, we don't call emperors anymore. We call them Roman rulers, popes. So I believe that a pope, makes sense that a pope would come and go, and then Antichrist would rise up. That's why I'm just watching Rome. I'm just watching what goes on. If I can ever find out anything that's going on over there, I just watch that. 2 Thessalonians 2:10-12. When the Antichrist raises from the dead, this is what is going to happen. 2 Thessalonians 2:10-12. He will use every kind of evil deception to fool those on their way to destruction, because they refuse to love and accept the truth that would have saved them. So God will cause them to be greatly deceived, and they will believe these lies, and then they will be condemned for enjoying evil rather than believe in the truth. So the question is, will people who take the mark of the beast ever change their mind? No. This verse says they won't. God is going to give them a delusion to continue in their deception, because he already knows the end from the beginning. He already knows what choice they've made. He who is destined to die by the sword will die by the sword. He that is destined to go to prison will go to prison. Like, it's already destined. And then another question, could they get saved after they take the mark? They won't want to. This says they won't want to. When you take the mark, your fate is sealed. They're never going to try to remove it. I believe that if the computer chip is placed in somebody, they can program all kinds of things into that chip to make people think whatever they want them to think. So I think once you take that, you are at the mercy of whatever program, whatever they want to do. I believe that if it is a chip, your fate is sealed. Sort of like, don't take it. All right, so I'm going to reread real quick Revelation 17:9-12 or 11 with all the details put in it. So it'll read just so clear. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills upon which Rome sits, and they are also 7 Roman rulers. 5 have died. 1 reigns while John was imprisoned, and the other is a future unknown Roman ruler. And when he comes, he must remain a little while. The beast, who lived at one time but is currently dead, he himself is an 8th Roman ruler, and he is one of the 7 in the list. And after he is done, he is cast into Gehenna. Does that make sense? All I did was just fill in the information that we have. All right, so now we're going to move into some other information. 10 horns, Revelation 17:12-14. Is everybody tracking with me all okay? We're kind of up on 8. We're almost done. Just kidding. All right. The 10 horns of the beast, which is the Antichrist kingdom and his power, they are 10 kings who have not yet been risen to power, and they will be appointed to their kingdoms for one brief moment to reign with the beast. They will all agree to give him their power and their authority. Together they will go to war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will defeat them, because he is the Lord of all lords and the King of all kings. And his called and chosen and faithful ones will be with him. Once more proving Christians are going to be on the planet. His called, his chosen, his faithful ones are going to be with him. These 10 horns, these 10 kings with their kingdoms, are going to pledge their allegiance to Nero in Rome. That's your revived Roman Empire. It says that they are going to also, in the lexicon, they're going to give him their money and their armies. They're going to be of one mind with him. Whatever he wants, they're going to do. So this is where America may come into the picture. Everybody wants to know where we fall in it. If our president, and I've said this before, if our president sides with Rome and Nero, then we will be one of the 10 kingdoms. We will be under Nero's rules, which means we will be under whether we take the mark of the beast or not. And we will also be fighting against the Lamb of God. If our president in our country sides with Israel, we will be enemies of the 10 kingdoms and Nero and Rome. And I don't know what that will look like for us, but we will, I do not believe, be under the mark of the beast. If we're anti-him, why would we pro his things? So I believe we're going to have to kind of wait and see where our government puts us in the end times. And I'm praying for a president that sides with Israel, because I wouldn't want to be a country that's going to fight against the Lamb of God, because they go down in the end. It's not good for them. All right, so we're going to get back to the woman that's sitting on the beast, Rome. Revelation 17, 15 through 18. I'm almost done. Then he, the angel, said to me, John, the waters which you saw, where the harlot Rome sits, are people, multitudes, nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which you saw on the beast, the 10 kings with temporary power, these are going to come to hate the harlot Rome. Make her desolate and naked, eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God has put it in their hearts to fulfill his purpose, to be of one mind and to give their kingdom to the beast, until the words of God are fulfilled. And the woman Rome, who you saw, is that great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. So according to Revelation, at some point before it's all said and done, I think before the rapture of the church, Rome is going to be attacked by the 10 kings. They're going to come against Rome, and Rome's going to burn to the ground. We're going to get into Rome's demise a little bit later. So we know everything we need to know about the Antichrist. We don't know everything we need to know about the false prophet, being his identity, but we know, I believe, who the Antichrist is going to be. So turn to your question and answers in the back, and we're going to spend the remaining moments writing answers down to a lot of your questions. And like I said, if you don't have a question and answer, like, oh, bummer, you can pick one up after class. It's the second stack over. You can watch this video on YouTube when I get it posted under Shea Caffey YouTube, Shea Caffey. It's in my playlist. You have to hit the playlist button on my homepage, and there's a Revelation Made Easy series, and all the videos are in there. This is part 7. So turn to question 10. Is America Mystery Babylon that gets destroyed by God? Who's Mystery Babylon? Rome. So no, it's not America. It is Rome. Question 20. Who is the Antichrist? The lexicons say it's Nero. So just write Nero. And is he alive right now? No. Nope. Question 21. How does the Antichrist die before he comes back to life? Sword wound. Mortal, which means deadly, sword wound. In 2 Thessalonians 2, 6 through 8, it says that the restrainer has to be removed before the Antichrist can be revealed. Who is the restrainer? Number 7. Future Roman ruler? The 7th head of the beast? Question 23. Who is the second beast seen coming up out of the earth? The first one's the Antichrist. He comes up from the sea, which is the pit. Who's the second one that comes up out of the earth? False prophet. Good job. Is the mark of the beast a computer chip? Question mark. It could be. You put it could be. All right, your question 25 doesn't have anything written beside it, does it? Okay, you're going to write something by it. You're going to write timing of the rapture. Timing of the rapture. And I'm going to say it for the first time. The correct view of the timing of the rapture that the Bible funnels you down to without any question over and over and over is post-tribulation / pre-wrath. post-tribulation / pre-wrath. We go up immediately after the tribulation is over, but before the bowls of wrath are poured out. We are not appointed unto the wrath of God. Post-tribulation, pre-wrath. Number 26. Why is the mark of the beast 666? And I just put Hebrew gematria says so. Hebrew gematria tells us why. Question 27. Can someone accidentally take the mark of the beast? Accidentally? No. God would never punish you in hell for accidentally doing something you didn't even understand what you were doing. No, you can't take it accidentally. You're literally pledging your allegiance to the Antichrist in that moment. You'll know what you're doing. Number 28. Is there a way to remove the mark of the beast if you change your mind? No. And if you want to write a reference beside that, no, you can write 2 short for Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians 2, 10 through 12. They won't want to. They're going to be deluded into the lies. So the same answer for 29. Will it be possible for people who take the mark of the beast to end up getting saved in the tribulation? No. 2 Thessalonians 2, 10 through 12 again. Question 30. Is the beast of Revelation a person or a system of government? Both. The beast of Revelation is a person, it's two people, and a system of government. It's three things. You got your Antichrist, Nero, you got your false prophet, and you've got the revived Roman Empire. They're all addressed as beasts. So however you want to answer that. Question 31. When the beast rises up out of the sea, is it a literal sea or a metaphor? It's a metaphor for hell. Question 32. What do the 7 heads of the beast stand for? 7 heads stand for, and I'll just say what to write, 7 Roman rulers, past, present, and future. 7 Roman rulers, past, present, and future. Based on AD 95, because that's when John got that vision. So to John, they were past, present, and future. 95 AD. Question 33. What do the 10 horns on the beast stand for? 10 kings, 10 kingdoms, the revived Roman Empire, however you want it. 10 kings and their kingdoms are going to be given power for that tribulation period. So however you want to word that, but that's what the horns are. 10 kings and 10 kingdoms who will side with the beast during the tribulation. All right, 34. Who is the woman riding on the beast? Rome. And why is she called a whore? Just put she's corrupt. She's the enemy of Christianity. In tribulation, she is. Question 39. We just have a couple more. If the Antichrist signs a 7-year peace treaty with Israel, why is that never mentioned in Revelation? Because he doesn't. Thank you for whoever said that. As a teacher, you want somebody to scream the right answer. You spent so much time and effort trying to teach truth. He doesn't. It's not in there. Question 40. If the tribulation is 7 years long, which is 84 months, Why does Revelation say the Antichrist only has 42 months, which is 3.5 years? What? It isn't 7 years long. It's not 7 years long. 3.5 years long. That's why he only has 42 months. See, if you get the length of the tribulation right, so many verses make more sense. If you get it wrong and you make it 7 years, you're like struggling to find anything that goes with that. All right, 41. This is the last one. If the Antichrist brings in 3.5 years of peace before breaking that peace treaty, why are neither of those things mentioned in Revelation? Because he doesn't. They're not in there. He does not bring in 3.5 years of peace, ever. He only brings in 3.5 years of tribulation. Okay, we are halfway done. I waited till the halfway point to break it to you that it is post-tribulation, pre-wrath. Are you guys all okay? Y'all okay? We're all tracking? Okay. For those of you that just tuned in and jumped in on this one, I'm so sorry. You probably won't watch any more. This is why I don't break it to you at the beginning. I've made that mistake before, thinking, I'm going to just get that out of the way. Oh, nobody's in class the next week because they were all pre-tribbers. If you walk through it with me and you see for yourself, all of a sudden you're like, oh my word, it's not in there. What have I been taught? Which is what I did. My word. So, I've set the groundwork for next week. We know all about the key players. All of them. If you go back through 1 through part 7, you're going to have all the key players. Next week, part 8, we're going to go into the key events. We're going to start, now that we know who the people are, we're going to start showing you what's going to happen with the trumpets. Y'all ready for that? All right. Do we have any questions? Cindy's got the mic. Are there any questions that I haven't answered? Yes. Hold on. You got to talk in there so it gets recorded.
When you talk about those in the pit before they're cast, is that what the Catholics say is purgatory?
Yes, but the Catholics believe that you can get out of there through prayers for the dead and lighting candles and stuff. Unfortunately, purgatory does fall under the lexicon definition of the word Sheol, which is the Hebrew word for hell. I did find the word purgatory in the definition. The word purgatory is never in the Bible, but it is in the Sheol definition for hell. But if you study the lower depths versus Abraham's bosom or paradise, you will realize that there's no going across the Great Gulf. Read Luke 16. There's no going across the Great Gulf. The people that are in the lower depths of purgatory, there's no getting out of there. There's no second chance. There's no being prayed out. If you end up there, and God doesn't give you a near-death experience and bring you back alive on this planet for a do-over, if your spirit ends up there and that's where it ends up, you will stay there, unfortunately, until the Great White Throne Judgment, where at that point, books will be opened, the book of life, the book of death, the book of works, and their works will be judged alongside of their rejection of Christ, and they will end up then in the lake of fire for eternity. So yeah, that's just it. Purgatory does fall in the definition, but so does the netherworlds, Orcus, the underworld, lots of different words to describe that place, but there's no getting out of any of those words. So, but that's where they get it.
Okay, so now those of us that are Christians that do not take the mark of the beast, those of us, or us now, that do not want to take that, are we to be prepping like, the world is, people are prepping and preparing and canning, and we should be prepping. Is that true?
So these are really good questions. And you guys, dear Jesus, thank you for tonight. Just bless everybody that wants to leave early. Amen. Anybody want to stay and have this discussion? We'll have this discussion. But feel free, if you need to go. But this is a very important thing, because if we are going to be on the planet and the Antichrist makes his public appearance, and our government does not side with Rome, then we are enemies of the revived Roman Empire. We may go to war. They may bomb us. They may attack us. I don't know how that's going to look. Regardless, we could be in war tomorrow. We need to be spiritually prepared. Our families need to be spiritually prepared above any food, water, underground bunker. Because if you are spiritually prepared and in tune with the Holy Spirit, and you have a group of people that you can team up with and help each other, then I think that that's your best bet. If you are prepping and you've got all this stuff, and all of a sudden people are charging the neighborhoods, looting everything they can because they know that there's a prepper that's got stuff, the word's gotten out, they're going to come after your family first. So at that point, now you're put in a position where you have to defend your life with weapons and end somebody else's life that may spend eternity in hell. I don't know if they could get saved or if they couldn't get saved, but you've not given them that opportunity to decide, because you're taking matters into your hands to defend your family. And there's plenty of people like, heck yeah, I'm going to defend my family, and they're not going to hurt my. That's everybody has their own decisions to make if it comes down to people coming in to loot your house. And then they're like, well, then you got to have your bug out bag. Where are you going to bug out to? Where are we bugging to? Like, I don't really know the answers to all of these. I've run through them, but I don't dwell on them. We have water purifiers that we bought so that we can purify water in our home. You just pour any kind of dirty water in it, it filters it. I use it to this day. I don't drink water out of plastic bottles anymore. I don't drink water out of sinks or whatever. I just use that. And I have some food that's like 25-year shelf life. Some, not a ton. But spiritually, I'm like, Holy Spirit, please tell me what I need to do when I need to know what to do. And if somebody comes to my door and needs help, I'm inclined to help them. That's just me. If I go down helping the wrong person, my heart was in the right place. But that's just me. That's just me. If any of you all showed up at my door and said, Shay, I need shelter, I'm like, come on, the more the better. I mean, let's do this. Let's all get in this church building and bring our resources and just get people in here and save people's souls. And, you know, like, this is our time to shine. You've got 3.5-year countdown to the end of life as you know it. What would you do differently if you knew I've got 3.5 years to save my family? Like, to really drive it home with my cousins and my nieces and my nephews and my parents or my step-parent, whatever. Like, I think things would be like, oh my goodness, like, I got to get my life in order. I need to stop doing this, stop messing around with that. You know, it's like spiritually get myself right. And we should be doing that now without the threat of we only have 3.5 years left to live. So if you're going through all the things that you would change if you knew, I would question, why are you waiting? Because your relationship with him should be first and foremost right now. But yeah, that's a super good question. I would say always be somewhat prepared with food, water, cash. I mean, don't be ignorant and not do anything. But don't plan on hoarding it, because more than likely, unless you have machine guns, if somebody wants to take your stuff, you're going to be hard pressed to keep it. So that's just my thoughts. Any other questions? I like all these questions. I love question time. Terry was like, you do question time with like so much excitement. Most people hate question time. I'm like, I know, I don't know, I just love it so much. You guys asked some good ones. All right, no other questions? Now's your chance. All right, dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this class. Lord, we just pray that we all grow closer to you. Holy Spirit, just lead, guide, and direct us to the decisions that we make Father, I pray that we keep our eyes on you and not walk in fear, but we just walk in the strength and the assurance that you already know the end from the beginning, and that we bring you glory in every decision that we make in these end times. I pray safety over everybody as they leave tonight. In your precious name I pray, amen.